Morning. This is your Friday morning safety meeting. Today is the 3rd of September, 2021. Already rolling into the fall. So welcome everybody. My name's Dave White up here this morning. I got Steve Field. Steve's in our safety department. Steve's our safety director. He is our safety department. Steve is. So good to have him this morning. Welcome everybody. Let's take this up to Salt Lake City first. Let's go out there to Troy. Troy, you with us? Troy or Aaron? I think I see Troy. Troy, can you hear me, buddy? I don't think you can hear. Let's go the other direction. Let's go out to Pittston, Pennsylvania. Ricky? Ricky,
hey, we got
with us? All right, how you doing?
Yours? Must be all the rain that we're having. We're having a little bit of problems here.
You still got that Hurricane Ida, whatever they call it, thing up there going on?
We're cleaning up from that, though. It's a couple of towns around here got flooded, but not too bad. We got 5 or 6 inches of rain on Wednesday.
That's crazy, man. Glad everybody's okay, though.
Yeah, everybody's fine. Everybody's fine. We're doing good. The pad was still going strong. Orientations was going strong. We're conducting business.
Good deal. Just want to give a big shout out. Last week we gave a 3 million mile award up there in Pittston. You did Bob Conger, and this morning he's having triple bypass surgery. So thoughts and prayers to Bob and Sheila up there, and hopefully everything goes well for him and he comes out like a strong mule kicking again, because we know how Bob can be, no doubt. So keep us abreast of what's going on.
Our prayers are with Bob. He's a good guy, great driver, does a lot for us, and yeah, we're praying for him.
There we go. Good deal. Let's try Salt Lake City again. Troy, you got us out there? No, maybe not this morning. Hopefully they can hear us. If you hear us, Troy, hang in there, buddy. If you guys got any questions, we'll see if you're working later on or your mic is, and we can hear you.
We're listening to you live on Facebook here.
Okay. Try it again, Troy, real quick.
Okay, thanks.
All right, back to Springfield. We'll get this meeting kicked off. We'll have a little technical difficulties this morning, but we'll work our way through it. So
on my Facebook, we got Facebook Live that we're listening to you on.
Okay, good deal, Troy. Thank you. So back here in Springfield, what I'd like to do, I know we see a lot of people out here in yellow vests, and some of you aren't wearing yellow vests, and that's fine too as well. But if you're new to Prime this week in orientation, Salt Lake, Pittston, or here in Springfield, if you please stand and be recognized, we'd like to give you a round of applause. Welcome to the Prime family, everybody, and you are family to us, and we appreciate every one of you, and best of luck in orientation, and remember, open those ears up because you're going to be learning a lot, and I'm sure you already have. Steve, I'm going to throw it over to you for a few minutes. Want to say anything to the new folks?
Sure. No, I'd also like to extend my welcome to you new folks. You're taking a leap of faith here with us with Prime. You've left your family, probably left another job, going to a new profession. It's going to be super challenging, but I'll tell you, we checked your background carefully. We think we know you pretty well. We know you can do it. So as Dave said, listen to your instructor, to your trainer. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to push back. But the folks that are going to be training you, they know what they're doing. We've screened them very carefully, given them additional training. They're not perfect. I'm not perfect. So just please do the best you can by listening out there and asking your questions. And we really need you. Growth is important to us, and our growth comes through our PSD program. So it's good to have you here with us today. So.
All right. Hopefully we can get that feedback kicked out, maybe. So
okay. So we're good. So sorry about that. So again, welcome to our meeting. Just real quick here, I think Dave's going to cover our different topics today. But for our new folks, I'll tell you what we're trying to do today. We do have our terminal in Salt Lake City that's online with us, our terminal in Pittston. And that way, if you're traveling around the country and you happen to be in one of those locations, you can join the meeting from there. You can also see it on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and we also put it out there on social media. Mitch and Andrea over here to my left, they work on that very hard. They monitor social media. It's a good way for us to communicate with all our associates. And over here to my right, we've got Brianne and Richard that kind of put all this technology together for us. In case I forget, if you're having trouble with the Prime app or your cell phone getting everything you should have on it, see Richard and Brianne over here, and they'll help you with that after the meeting. So again, welcome.
Yes, we have a full slate of speakers, no doubt. We got a packed meeting, and if you have questions for any of the speakers, make sure you bring them up. There's no such thing as a stupid question. So here coming up shortly, we're going to have Dr. John Abraham with Trinity. He's going to talk about our COVID status, where we're at as far as the company's going. Bill Sprague, we got following him with we'll go over a couple rollovers we've had and maybe some education that we can all learn from as well. Tyler Patrick, he's in Road Assist. Be talking about pre-trip and trailers. He got a shout out over there from the Road Assist guys. That's a good deal. Bill Boning in security. We're coming up to the holiday weekend, so security is extremely important, and make sure we keep all those trailers locked. Bill's going to cover some of that. And then Jim Guthrie, you could talk about some customers, our freight demands, and COVID as well. So big line of people. So let's get her going. Should we get Dr. Abraham up here?
I think he's ready.
All right, good deal. Dr. Abraham, come on up.
Let me go ahead and introduce Dr. Abraham. Downstairs, we have Trinity Health, which is Dr. Abraham's organization, Dr. Abraham, medical doctor. We're very fortunate to have him. We consider him our medical officer. We go to him frequently when we have questions about medication, about returning to duty. Probably one of the most knowledgeable people in the industry when it comes to the FMCSA regulations. So we're very fortunate to have the doctor and his staff. And we've asked Dr. Abraham back. He speaks to us frequently, but to kind of focus in on where we stand with COVID, with the vaccination, with some misinformation out there, because we're not out of the woods with this yet. So Dr. Abraham?
Thanks, Dave. Good morning, everyone. Real quick, show of hands, who's tired of hearing about COVID? Anybody? I know I am. Okay. We're going to talk about something else today. How many of you know somebody who's had cancer? Show of hands. You can pretty much throw a rock and hit someone that's had cancer these days. Cancer is so very prevalent. And it's just part of industry, part of society, and we continue to see more and more. Recent colon cancer screening age just dropped. It used to be 50, now it's down to 45 because we're seeing more and more young people develop colon cancer. So what do you do about cancer? We try and screen for it. And we screen by way of getting colonoscopies, getting mammograms, getting skin checks, getting blood work, routine stuff. And we do what we can because, nobody wants cancer, do they? Anybody ever seen anybody on chemotherapy? Yeah? Not very fun, is it? Anybody know how chemotherapy came to be? I got $10 if somebody can give me the answer without looking at your phone. All right, nobody. Chemotherapy actually originated from mustard gas. So back in World War I, they used mustard gas as a chemical warfare. And what they found was the autopsy of the people that died after mustard gas was that their cells stopped dividing and stopped reproducing themselves. And hence we had the birth of chemotherapy, and it's evolved to what it is now. So chemotherapy is what we call cytotoxic. So what we want to do is try and avoid that kind of cancer and avoid getting to that point where you have to be on chemotherapy. So we do the screening, but occasionally things slip through. And if they slip through, then we have to treat it. We treat it by way of lifestyle changes. So good nutrition, good rest, hydrating, eating, healthy, fresh stuff, exercising. And, sometimes you do have to go with medication like chemotherapy. Luckily now there are some new therapies coming out. There are therapies that target it individually and actually train the body system to attack it. Let's look at it from this standpoint. So if you look at the U.S., say like we've got a foreign invader coming in and just spraying throughout the country. So first we, try to screen for it just like we would blood work. We have FBI, CIA, security watching things, trying to keep things out. But if it does come in, we could go ahead and blanket the entire country with mustard gas, or we could go ahead and train our citizens to go ahead and attack it, So show of hands. Who wants trained citizen snipers to take out the enemy, or who wants mustard gas? Mustard gas? Anybody? Snipers? Okay, easy answer. Okay, let's pause for a second. I'm going to go ahead and indulge your request to talk about COVID. Who's had a vaccine? Show of hands. That's fantastic. Good. I'm assuming the rest of you haven't. So let's back up to cancer again. The snipers that we're talking about, that technology is called mRNA technology. Same thing that they're using for the vaccines. So The mRNA technology has been in use for about the last 20 years. They've been researching and trying to develop cancer treatments. It is not something new. It is safe. It's not going to affect your DNA. It's not going to change your DNA. It's not going to make you infertile. It's not going to turn you into a zombie. Recently, we've had such an uptick with drivers in COVID. Since COVID started, we've had about 470 cases. Is Jason Seymour around? Yeah. So about 470 cases with drivers alone. Monday through Friday this week, I want to say it was 30. So, we get significant numbers that are upticking here. We do what we can. We try to mask. We try to get people vaccinated. And either one's a good choice. If you don't want to vaccinate, just make sure you're masking. So if you do catch it, you're not spraying it. Part of the reason you want to vaccinate is, prevent infection and prevent the severity of infection. It's not going to keep you from getting infected, but it is going to help minimize the chance of you end up in the hospital with it. And we are seeing a younger and younger population that's ending up in the hospital with more severe symptoms. Thankfully, some of the numbers in green county are going down, but Delta kind of started in this Midwest area, and now it's spreading out to the coast, and you're seeing those numbers go up. What we hope is that we're not going to have another variant pop up and start wiping through the country again. Each variant starts to get stronger and smarter and starts attacking, a slightly different population. Last year, about this time, our average hospitalized patient was, 65 and older. Now we're seeing, 30s, 40s. I mean, we've got 1 and 4-year-olds in the hospitals here that are suffering from COVID. So I guess my push out there is, not only get screened for cancer, but go get vaccinated, wear a mask, do what you can to protect yourself and those around you. If anybody's got any questions, please ask away.
Dr. A, I know you don't like the word booster, but that the media uses that word. Can you talk about, those that have been vaccinated, fully vaccinated with their second shot? What should we expect this fall, or what's coming up down the road?
So yeah, I don't like the word booster. We don't call your flu shots boosters. You get a flu shot every year. Most people do. But a booster almost indicates that something didn't work. The vaccine did work. It helped minimize the severity of infection. And that's the same thing we see with flu vaccine. You can get the flu vaccine, but you might still get the flu. It's just not going to be as bad for you. And typically when you get a flu shot, it's usually got about 4 strains of the flu in it. As time goes on, you might see that happen with a COVID shot. You will get some immunity to it as time goes on. There's going to be some cross-reactivity or cross-immunity if you've had one of the other variants. So you'll probably start to see that come out about once a year or so. I doubt it's going to be something that's mandated as time goes on. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
If you've had COVID, okay, do you need to be vaccinated? I mean, you've had the full-blown virus.
That's a very good question. So the vaccine was designed to give you a very broad-based immune approach or attack against COVID. However, if you've had COVID, it's very specific to that strain. So the original strain that came through was Alpha, then slowly became the Beta strain, which is the one out of the UK. And then we had the South African strain that jumped over to India and created the Delta strain. So, if you're infected initially, you've got good antibodies to that initial one. Your antibodies are probably not going to be as robust against the Delta variant and the other variants are coming out. You'll have some, but you still risk that issue. So the reason for the vaccine for those that have had COVID is to give you more of a broad-based approach.
How long should they wait after COVID to get a vaccine in?
If you've had COVID, I generally recommend waiting 90 days because once you've had COVID, your body's still building up antibodies and training itself how to fight it. And generally it takes, once you get infected with COVID, it takes anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks to develop the antibodies in your system. So during that initial 2-week period or so, that virus is replicating. And each cell that it's infected, it's creating thousands upon thousands of copies an hour. And each copy can result in a mutation, the genetics, which can lead to a variant. So that's another reason why we want to push for the vaccine, because that way you already have antibodies to take care of the attack that's coming on, and you don't have this unprotected phase where you become a viral factory.
Question, do you guys do the antibodies test, and are you able to determine what type of antibodies you have for what variant?
It does not detect for what type of variant, but we do what's called a quantitative antibody test, which gives you a level. As time goes on, and there's not enough data out there yet to determine what the cutoff point should be for antibodies. To give you a little bit of example, I had my shot back December 31st, and I had a patient that developed COVID around January or so. Test both for antibody levels about a month and a half ago or so. Mine came back at 1900. The patients came back at 90. So if that gives you any kind of reflection or idea of, the difference.
Doc, do you have any data on the infection rate in here, the ICU rate in here, the fatality rate here that's going on in Greene County with COVID?
Give you an update. Last data I had was from a couple of weeks ago. Our ICUs were full. Mercy was getting reopened the third wing of the ICU because they're just having more beds. A lot of people say, oh, that's just because of shortage in personnel. No, they're having to open actually another wing because you have to keep people in isolation. We were having to ship people out for, you have ventilators which help you breathe. An ECMO machine helps you breathe and helps your circulation too. It basically bypass your heart and your lungs. We didn't have an ECMO machine there. We had to send people over to Oklahoma. So if that kind of gives you an idea, but we are seeing it definitely be the younger population that's ending up there.
And then there was the stories about going into ICU. There was a fatality rate there that was.
I can't quote you on the fatality rate. I'll tell you about 98% of those folks were unvaccinated. The folks that were vaccinated in there, the handful they had were patients that were on chemo or had some other kind of immunosuppressed issue, which made them compromised. And they wouldn't fare well to begin with. But where the vast majority of folks that we're seeing that are hospitalized now are the unvaccinated. Yes.
Yes. Do you expect COVID to be like the flu eventually, and then that we get our yearly COVID shot along with our yearly flu shot?
I suspect so. You got to remember, coronavirus itself, that class of viruses, that's been around for many, many, many years. 20% of your common colds are caused by coronavirus. This specific strain, COVID-19, that came out, back in 2019, was one that we had never experienced before. Kind of like the Spanish flu of 1918. Nobody experienced that strain of the flu before. Since then, we have been exposed to that Spanish flu again, but we've had immunity to it as time has gone on. It weeded out the percent of the population that was susceptible to it, much like COVID has done. And, the biggest thing we can do now is, get the vaccine and, on a yearly basis, as it continues to come out, if you're immune compromised, if you haven't had it, it would be a good idea to go ahead and get it. Initially we started out with this population, this totally virgin population that had not had COVID, had not been vaccinated. Everybody was just new to it. That population shifted, and it ended up in three categories. Those who have had it and survived, those who have been vaccinated, and those who have had it and died. So as time goes on, this is going to continue to shift this way, and you'll be at one of those three categories, and those folks will have immunity to some degree. But right now, and the argument becomes, well, then why should I get vaccinated if we're all going to become immune to it? Because if we're not, we end up with a mutation problem where we have the chance of another variant popping out, and then we start back in square one. Make sense? Yes.
What do we know about this new mood variant?
I haven't read a lot about that one yet. It is on its way. There's a couple others we're watching too. There's a couple that have fallen off as well. I want to say it was the Epsilon that is, it was either Epsilon or Gamma that fell out and is no longer concerned, but Mu has kind of taken this place and they're watching them. And we're talking about each of these variants get little Greek letter names. And if they have enough of a mutation or change, they become mutations or variants of concern, which mean they could potentially bypass our immunity, bypass our system. The recent one, if you look at Delta, and let's back up to Alpha real quick. So on the surface of the cell of the coronavirus, you have these little spikes on, and that's what you call your spike protein. This virus uses the spike protein to attach to your human cell and insert itself in there. Once it gets in there, it teaches your cell how to make more viruses, and then reproduces itself that way. And then once it produces enough, that cell bursts and dies and lets out all the baby viruses that were in there growing. With the spike protein, or with the Delta variant, that spike protein is actually becoming more of a bridge. So it's letting the viral particles transfer from one cell to another, so it doesn't even get exposed to our immune system. So again, the virus is getting smarter. So when you have a variant of concern, it's because it got smarter, it got more deadly or transmissible. Case again.
They're saying that even our antibodies from previous coronavirus or the vaccines possibly won't stop this mutation.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. So that's again why we need to get vaccinated, because we're going to start over again. We're going to end up with another COVID-19 because these mutations are being created that we can't address and fight. So every time somebody out there is not vaccinated that gets infected, there's another chance for another variant. So it is going to get worse if we don't get on board and get ahead of it. And again, eventually we'll end up with the population over here and we'll be in good shape. But in the meantime, we still have a good percentage of population that's here that is at risk. And, you know, with the other variants that we don't have antibodies to, again, we'll get some cross immunity to it, but it may not be full and, you know, enough to keep us out of the hospital.
Before we let you go, Dr. A, could you tell us when you vaccinate downstairs so everybody knows?
We vaccinate on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the reason for that is because once you puncture a vial or, you know, open up a vial, you've got 6 hours in which to use it. The reason for that is there are no preservatives in it. A lot of the older vaccines had preservatives like mercury, you know, antibacterial type stuff in there that to help keep it fresh and keep bacteria from growing in there. So there are no preservatives in the Moderna or Pfizer vaccine, and that's why it's such a short shelf life. So we do have to do it within 6 hours of opening. So we keep it to Tuesdays and Thursdays. And what you do is you go to our website, you can fill out your consent form there, put in your time slot for when you want to get vaccinated. You just come on down, we vaccinate you, have you sit for about 15 minutes to make sure you're doing all right, and then we send you on your way.
Yeah, last question.
Yeah, what's your stance on the therapeutics such as ivermectin, Regeneron, and hydroxychloroquine?
Regeneron's great. We've seen a lot of patients do well with the monoclonal type antibodies and the fusions, and Greene County's now doing a really good job of doing that. Cox in town has probably done some, probably the highest percentage in the nation, actually. Ivermectin, there have been some clinical or some laboratory trials to see its effect on COVID, and it does stop the replication of COVID. However, the dose you need for that is way higher than a safe therapeutic level. It gets to a level where it causes seizures and coma.
Dr. Abraham and Trinity, they're right downstairs. So if you didn't get to answer your question or you don't want to ask it in this forum, which I certainly understand, feel free to go downstairs and see Dr. A or his staff. And, you know, it's certainly a personal decision to make. I think you know what our stance is here. We would prefer that folks be vaccinated. We haven't mandated it. If you're not vaccinated, we need you to go ahead and. Yeah, sorry, Dr. A.
Yeah, you know, with it being a busy clinic down there, if you can jump online, that's going to be the easiest way for you guys to get in and out on that. So if we can post the website somewhere there, that'd be great. We'll post it.
I think there's a link on the Prime mobile app. Is that right, Dennis? So yeah, you can go to your Prime mobile app too and sign up through there. It makes it easier for you too as well. So
just a lot of information there from Dr. A. So, you know, talk about it with your family, with your health professionals, whoever you think you need to. And as I was saying, we have not mandated it here at Prime, but if you're not vaccinated, we do ask you to wear your mask anytime you're inside a building.
And we're so fortunate to have Trinity here and Dr. Abraham. I know a lot of this information he was talking, if you're like me, it's going above my head, but it is interesting because it affects all of us in here. So if you have more questions, stop downstairs or give them a call. They're more than happy to help you out. And they're a great partnership with us here at Prime. So let's move on to some safety numbers here real quick. This past week, we had 118 DOT inspections. 77 of those were clean, so a good % rate on that, especially since last week was a brake safety week for CVSA. So more scales were open, more trucks are getting inspected, and we did a good job. We came out pretty well. Real quickly here, before I turn it over to Bill, I wanted to remind everybody school is opening up. Many places throughout the United States, and after Labor Day, I think all kids will be back in school. So be on the lookout for those buses, kids going through towns and stuff. You know, watch out because kids are not paying attention to traffic. They're not paying attention to trucks. And they will ride out in front of you on bikes, run out after balls, things like that. So pay extra attention, watch the little ones, watch the buses. Many of these bus drivers, obviously they don't have the experience that you all are getting here. And some of it's pretty quick. Just get your CDL and we'll take you out for a road test. Now you can go pick up kids. So they will make some maneuvers, and I've seen some locally around here. I just shake my head, but we have to compensate for the school buses. We don't want to get involved in an accident, even if it's not your fault. Doesn't matter. We don't want to get involved with an accident with a school bus because there's precious cargo on board, and somebody can get hurt very easily. So Without further ado, got Mr. Bill Sprague up here. Good to have you, Bill. Haven't heard from you in a while. So
I've been hiding.
I know you've been in hiding. So go ahead. I'll let you take it over.
One of the things I want to talk to you about this morning is rollover accidents. It's something we don't like to talk about much, but it's kind of like COVID. If we don't talk about it, we don't know what we need to do to protect ourselves from it. So I'm going to share some numbers with you this morning. One of the reasons that we focus on rollovers is it's one of the most expensive accidents we can possibly have. And not only that, it's going to end your career. And I don't mean physically wise, knock on wood. A lot of times these accidents, the drivers walk away from them. This equipment is built extremely safe, but we're going to lose a driver because we don't retain any driver that rolls a truck. And right now the industry out there is not going to hire you. Right now, all UPSD students, you're putting in a lot of time and effort and work and spending your own money to get that CDL, to have to turn around and do something different for a living for 3 to 5 years before another company will look at you. That's one of the reasons we focus on these accidents, because we've got to work and do everything we can to prevent them. And just since the beginning of 2021, we have had a large number of rollover accidents this year. Right now, 25% of them are merely making turns that we shouldn't have made. Well, let's say you're following GPS. Everyone thinks that when you put in that reroute, that's the legal route you need to go. You got to realize if you get off a truck route and put in a reroute, it can't pick you up and go put you on a truck route, right? It's going to take you back to the quickest way it can get you back to a truck route. Well, a lot of times those turns and everything it's going to have you make are not good, safe, legal turns for a 73-foot piece of equipment. So if you get yourself in that predicament, call for help. You'd be surprised how many times we've had wreckers go out and have to separate equipment, get them turned around and get them out of there safely. That's going to be a lot better than you making that turn, getting the tandems off and rolling it off in the ditch, because then now you've injured your career. 25% of the accidents we've had are doing that exact same thing. And 2 of those were from pulling off to the shoulder, no emergency, pulling off to the shoulder, got the tires off and then rolled it after it was stopped. Don't pull off on a shoulder unless that shoulder is wide enough that you can keep all tires on the pavement. You don't know the condition of what that ground's like whenever it pulls off to the right side. If it's been raining there or if it's soft at all, that weight and gravity is going to take over and it's going to roll you. Everybody thinks that since we have students here that, well, the main number of rollover accidents are due to students. No, it's not. It's across the board. No one is safe from a rollover accident. It only takes 2 to 3 seconds of distraction or making a poor decision to roll a truck. In the past 10 rollovers that we've had, 5 of those had less than a year experience. We had 3 of them that had 1 to 4 years, and 2 of those were 5+ year veterans that rolled a truck. So no one's exempt from it. It can happen to anyone. Now, a lot of times you're going to hear us talk about critical events. Critical events and the safety councils that we do as safety supervisors here are kind of like our vaccine. Okay? Everybody's been hearing about COVID. We like to do these councils on critical events, and we like to set a driver down and go over these because that's our way to maybe prevent that driver from having an accident. So if you get routed in for critical events, this is an opportunity. Okay? This is for us to share with you things that could possibly prevent you from being one of these numbers of rollovers or rear end accidents or any serious accident. Because if we can protect you and your record, we protect Prime at the same time. If you would show the still photo, Ryan. In case you can't, well, you can see it pretty good. That is an absolute destroyed load down into a ravine. Now, I'm going to say both drivers walked away from it. Both of them were absolutely fine. A couple scratches, bumps and bruises. We don't bring these accidents up to downplay and make fun of that driver. This is what happens when you get an excessive overspeed. You get to the bottom of the hill and you can't control that equipment. A lot of times when we're reviewing drivers and we're talking to them about excessive overspeed of that truck, the first thing the driver's comeback is, well, I was going 75 or just over. That was the speed limit and no one else was around. So it was safe. No, it's not. First of all, there was somebody around and it's you, and you're very important to Prime. So we're going to protect you from yourself if we have to, or you're going to end up rolled down into a ravine just like this because of a slight curve in the road at the bottom. Or think about this. What happens when you get to the bottom and you're fully loaded at 80 miles an hour, running 80,000 pounds, and there's an accident? You're not going to be able to prevent yourself from being involved in that accident, and it's going to be catastrophic. We're not going to wait for that to happen. If you get these critical events, we're going to bring you in. We're going to talk to you about it. We're going to show you the severity of it. And we're going to work to make sure you're not one of those statistics. That's what we do here. We have to prevent these before we react to them. I met someone earlier, Maurice. You want to come up here with me for a second? Maurice is actually from the Congo, but he lives in Florida. We've known each other for, I can't even think, 10 minutes, maybe 15. We go way back. The reason I bring Maurice up here is because I want to show you a video of another rollover that we've recently had. And I'm going to have him kind of look at what the driver was seeing and what we should have been doing to react. Now, once again, we're not playing this video so we can make fun of the driver that was involved in the accident. This can happen to any driver sitting in this room with 2 to 3 seconds of distraction. Go ahead and play about the first 6 to, here, turn around so you can see it. Over here so you can see it good. Can you see it? What are you noticing in front of you?
2 cars in the rainy weather.
Right? And what else? What are you noticing about those cars? Keep playing it for a second.
Oh, they're braking. They're stopping.
Okay, you can go ahead and finish the video. And then the truck decides to go to sleep. Okay, so I played this video for a couple different reasons. For one, he's never been, he's a PSD student. He's not driven a truck his whole life. This driver had about 5 years experience. And he saw things that that driver didn't see. You know why? Not paying attention to what's going on in front of us. We got rainy weather, as he points out. What do we need to do in rainy weather? Slow down, increase your following distance. What else did he notice up in front that this driver didn't notice? Brake lights. What do you do with brake lights when they're way up in front of you? Do you wait till you get there to react? Absolutely not. You're too big a vehicle to wait until the last second. And you know, the driver's reaction in this, and I hate to bring it up, but his reaction was he took it off the road to save lives. He did, but who put those lives at risk to begin with? That's right. Think about that. Think about those vehicles. They got stopped. What you can't see is right in front of this stack of vehicles that is stopped is a vehicle that has rolled, hit the median and rolled, and they were broadside in the middle of the lane, vulnerable. Imagine if those vehicles didn't get stopped and they hit that person that would probably survive that accident, but are they going to survive when that person doesn't see them, doesn't get stopped? Think about that. When you get brought in for critical events, this driver probably had a history of not paying attention to what's going on in front of him. That's why we look at hard brakes. That's why we look at forward collision warnings. We got to make sure that when you're behind the wheel, you are 100% locked in all the time. You got the hardest job out there. Don't let anybody tell you it's not. You PSD students, if anybody tells you this is an easy job, they've never done it or they've never done it right, because you can't look away for 3 to 4 seconds without something bad happening to you or someone else. Does anybody have any questions for me? Everybody give Maurice a hand. My new best friend. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Maurice. You know, we struggle sometimes. We decide, you know, what are we going to show at the meetings? But at the end of the day, if everything Bill went through there, it's painful to watch that video. If that just saved one rollover, our job was, we were successful here. And I'm not going to beat a dead horse to death here. I think Bill did a fantastic job with that information he shared with you. But the things I kept hearing again and again was, watch that speed, slow down when you need to, know where you're going. And if you're not sure, stop. And in the case of that accident there, you just got to be alert out there. You've got to be. We're going to give you the best equipment that's out there. We're going to give you the best training. We're going to give you the best support. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to each one of you individually. That's all we have. You're our final line of defense right there, each one of you individually, to be safe out there. And we're going to entrust you with that. We're going to give you all the support that we can. But at the end of the day, we're counting on you all to be safe out there. Okay. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate you coming up and sharing that information.
Should we go with Tyler?
Let's go with Tyler Patrick.
All right, Tyler Patrick from Road Assist. Tyler's going to come up here and talk to us today about pre-trip and trailers and pro maintenance class, which I love. So go ahead, Tyler.
Thank you, guys. Thanks again for having me this morning. I always like to get up here and talk my spiel, and just to help you guys get a little bit more insight into Road Assist and some things we do, and just things that you guys can do to help improve your bottom line out there on the road, and things you can do to prevent downtime and prevent these over the road expenses. So When it comes to downtime, let's talk about trailer inspections, right? One of our highest callings is safety, and another one's making sure we take care of our customers and customer service, right? Last thing we want to do is go in to pick up a load in a trailer that's going to need repairs, a trailer that's going to need fuel, a trailer that's got flat tires, right? Nobody likes picking up a trailer that's immediately going to go to the shop. So what can we do to prevent that from happening and also take care of our customers, making sure they've got good trailers that have fuel ready to go when we've got that load to put on it? So a couple things we want to do. We want to talk about pre-tripping that trailer before we drop it off at a customer, right? We've got a great video. I would encourage every one of you to hop on YouTube and go look up Prime Inc. reefer inspection, okay? Andrea and I went out a couple of months ago, actually I think it was last year, and we shot a great video on some things, identifying problems that we've seen over the road and that our customers have pointed out of trailers coming to their yachts or yards that need to be addressed probably before they get there. So some of those things we want to do whenever we pick up a trailer, some things we want to go through, making sure the fluids are correct, right? We've got oil in the engine, we've got coolant that's full, ready to go, and we've got fuel in that trailer ready to drop off for the customer. On top of that, once we've established that we've got good coolant, oil, and fuel, we want to run a pre-trip on that reefer. All right, what this is a little 15-minute self-test on the reefer. You go to menu, second option down on the bottom line is going to be pre-trip. It's right next to the IntelliSets you guys are very familiar with. What this is a self-test. The unit's going to start up and go through a process, going through all the sensors and all the valves and things like that, making sure when this reefer needs to run, it's going to run and cool and keep that product good. So what I would encourage you to do is start your light check on the truck, go back, check the fluids on the reefer, then start that pre-trip, okay? That's going to give you time to go ahead and walk around the trailer. We want to make sure we're looking at the annual inspection, making sure it's up to date, that trailer's legal to be on the road. We want to check that there's no exterior damages, such as, exposed insulation, maybe another trailer backed into it. We've got some problems like that. Last thing we want is water intrusion coming in the side of that trailer, causing mold and mildew and things like that. Also outside, we're looking for bottom rail and top rail damages. We want to walk around the trailer, make sure we're getting a good visual inspection all the way around, okay? Nothing says that company that blindsided into us on the side of the evening before didn't catch the side of the trailer. We want to make sure that everything's good and ready to roll down the road. No bottom rail damages, any cracks in the bottom rail, things like that. I want you guys to take pictures and send on into Road Assist. And we can work together as a team to make sure that trailer is okay for you to pull down the road. Continuing on to the back, we want to make sure we have door chains. That's a huge safety thing, right? If we can't secure those doors back and they're just flopping around, that could injure somebody very, very easily. Checking your tires, tandems underneath. We don't want anything loose or hanging underneath the trailer that could potentially fall off and hurt somebody going down the road. Brake chambers, things like that. Those disc brake chambers hang pretty low, so we want to make sure those are good and intact. They haven't run over a curb, damaged, hanging, things like that. We want to make sure the cab card's there. It's on the app, right? So a lot of your permits and things you can access through the app. We want to make sure that annual inspection's there as well. Inside the trailer, this is where it gets big for the customers, okay? We want to make sure there's no exposed insulation. So if a pallet's caught the wall and we've got some foam coming back through, or maybe that scuff liner down on the floor is pulled out, that glue's come out, and we've got some debris and material back there, that's all a no-go, okay? We haul food-grade equipment for the most part. We want to make sure that, this stuff is taken care of, and that food that's coming across our table is in a trailer just as clean as we would like to see it in our kitchen, right? So no exposed insulation, no mildew, things like that, no bugs, debris on the floor. We don't want any, leftover. These chicken loads and these meat loads can get pretty nasty in there, right? So we want to make sure these trailers are clean and washed out for our customers. On top of that, we want to make sure that the chute is good and intact. It's not hanging down. It's also not too tight, right? It's got to fit that perfect bill so that airflow can get through there to the rest of the trailer, start the circulation, and make sure that load is good. So making sure your chute's up, no odors, things like that. Again, guys, I'll just plug that video. Hop on the YouTubes, check out Prime Inc. Reefer Inspection. It's a great video. It's not too long. We do an actual walk around showing you the do's and don'ts and what you're looking for on those.
Hey, Tyler.
Yes.
We have a question from David. He said, if a reefer is having issues while loaded and needs repaired, why can't Road Assist send a carrier tech to fix on-site if driver is out of hours? So
yeah, we do in fact do that in some cases. It's also dependent on that. We also want to encourage, that we're utilizing our sales and those trucks available in the area. These carrier callouts can be extremely, extremely expensive. So, from the company side, we want to make sure that we're making the most logical decision. Is that carrier tech available, right? We're not the only person that's going to have a loaded trailer with an issue that night, okay? Also, parts availability. That technician may be coming from a long ways away, so he may not have those parts that we want. So anytime we have the ability, even after hours, to take that trailer to the shop where he's going to have all of his equipment and all of his parts is obviously going to be our go-to. In that specific case where we are out of hours, yeah, we have utilized carrier services to come out if we can. But in some cases, we also do look for repowers to be able to move that equipment to get that load fixed right away. Obviously, if you have an issue with the load and you're at that 01 and you're on a loaded trailer and it's not running, get in road assist now. Like, let's talk about it before we leave. The last thing we want to do is head out on the road and put that load and, compromise that load by having a reefer that's going to have to go straight to a shop. Okay. Communication. Get with road assist. Let's talk about these things as they come up. Let's try and not make these decisions on the fly and then deal with the repercussions later. Let's get a good game plan on these reefer issues before we take out with that load. Okay. Also, just back to that pre-trip, it will give you a pass or fail. So once you've done your walk around inspection of the trailer, go back to the display, check that pre-trip, see if it's pass or fail. Okay. If it does fail, that doesn't mean that this trailer isn't good to go. A lot of these are service interval items that we can address at a later time. So back to my communication points, holler at road assist, shoot us a message, let us know what's going on. We can help you decide whether we can continue with that and address it later, or if we need to look at other options for that load and maybe a different trailer.
Okay. You may not know the answer to this, but it doesn't really fall under road assist, but Rebecca said, any idea when the navigation is going to be fixed in our Qualcomm?
Yeah, I know Terry and Logs, we've been having a lot of emails come across, especially even in road assist about issues, and they are proactively working on this, trying to figure that out. I don't have a specific answer for you, but I'm sure somebody can get back to you. I'll reach out to Terry and maybe get with Andrea, see if we can come up with an answer for you there.
Thank you.
Yeah. So back to these, trailer issues. So let's say you do have these trailer issues, right? You're going into a receiver, you're taking in a trailer, you've established that it's got a problem. What do we do at that point, right? So we have a couple options. We can try and fix it ourselves, right? We can go through, we can repair these chutes. Let's say we have a light issue or a door chain. I would much rather pay my own drivers to take care of that issue. It's going to save you time and revenue, plus a little bit of profit on top of that. We get the trailer in there, we're taking care of our customers, right? So that all bounces back to this pro maintenance class that Dave was talking about. And I see a lot of people in here that I just saw earlier this week in pro maintenance. So if you've taken pro maintenance, let's see a hand here. I know I've seen a couple. Yeah. All right. So it's a great class, guys. We do a lot of hands-on repairs, just like you'd see out on the road, things that you're going to see with these trailers, even with your own truck that you'd normally be paying somebody to do. Come in, take the pro maintenance class. We'll encourage you to buy some tools. We'll show you what you can do with those tools. And we're also going to talk about the advantages of doing some of these things yourself. So, it's nothing to, explain to a driver how just changing out your own air filters, for example, can save you as a solo almost $1,200 on a lease, right? That's huge just on air filters. So if you're interested in the pro maintenance class, we teach it every Tuesday and Thursday here at Prime in Springfield. It's over at the Plaza building in the multi-purpose room. And then we actually go in, we have all kinds of cool modules and hands-on repairs that we like to do from there. So guys, if you have any questions, I'll be here after the meeting. I do want to take a minute to introduce our representatives back here. We have fleet reps back here in the corner. These guys are from all of our major dealer groups in the area. We've got Freightliner, Peterbilt. You guys stand up. Thermo King, Carrier. Yeah, give them a round of applause, guys. Just as driven as you guys are out on the road, putting down miles and delivering freight, these guys are right here in Springfield helping us support you. So when you have these parts shortages, your truck's in the shop and they're like, hey, parts are on back order for 9 to 11 weeks, and somehow it shows up in 3 days, that's these guys back here. So they are here. They're, underpaid and overworked, but they still show up with a smile on their face to help us out. So anytime you guys have issues with your equipment, it's just not getting fixed, you keep having repetitive issues, get in touch with these guys. They're there for those reasons to help you manage those problem child equipment. And, they're here every day in Springfield. So thank you guys again. If you have any questions, I'll be here.
Super, Tyler. Appreciate you coming up. Before we bring our next speaker up for our PSDs, at this point, you might be thinking, enough is enough. I can't remember all this stuff. We're not expecting you to remember. This is just a broad overbrush for you of just some of the things that we do here at Prime. Believe me, over time, this is going to become second nature to you. Bill, you ready? I'll tell you this, one group of folks that did not take a break during COVID, other than the truckers who did not take a break, are the thieves. So we've got Bill Baining, our Director of Security. Got a holiday coming up, Bill.
Thank you very much, Steve. So good morning, everybody. So earlier this week, I get a phone call and one of our drivers says, hey, I went home, dropped my trailer at a gas station, bobtailed home, spent some time at home, and I really thought my trailer was going to be secure because they had cameras there. So Brianne, can you roll the video? So here's the cameras. But that's not our truck. The thief knew they had cameras there too. He's now backing up underneath our load. Now, the bad part about this whole thing is this is a cell phone video that he took off the cameras at the gas station. When the deputy went in, he still couldn't get any kind of numbers or symbols or anything to identify the thief. The thief knows it's there. You can see how he's keeping himself shaded, keeping his back to the camera the whole time. Hooks onto our load and drives off. There's a flatbed load. It was about $11,000 worth of asphalt shingles. But right now, guys, how hard do you think it'd be for me to get rid of asphalt shingles right now? What we have down in Louisiana, big old hurricane. I can put them on a box truck right now, take them down there. I can sell them pretty good money right now. And those guys will pay me all day long. So here's the deal. Labor Day's coming up on Monday, right? Everybody wants to go home, spend some time with their family. Great. Here's what we're asking. If you're going to go home, if you're going to want to drop your load somewhere in Bobtail, get with your fleet manager or get with security first so we can find you an appropriate place to put your load. The sad part about this load here is he wasn't too far from our Houston drop yard where we could have secured this load. He literally was probably 15, 20 minutes from a secured yard, but he thought the cameras were going to protect him. You know, many times we can find a shipper, we can find someplace for you to put this trailer, but please take the extra time. What's the number one thing that thieves are still stealing today? Number one thing, somebody, real quick. Here's somebody say food. Food is the number one thing that the thieves are still stealing. So a few things you got to always do. Make sure you always got a lock on that trailer. When you're doing your walk around, the first thing you should do is grab your lock, walk to the back of that trailer, put it on there, and you're good to go. Make sure you got your seal on there also, but the lock is important, super important. Every time you stop, make another trip around that trailer, do your inspection before you take off, make sure the lock's on there. But what we're asking for you is just take some extra time, think about the ramifications, because unfortunately, because of this load getting stolen, this driver's no longer with us. Kind of like Bill talked with the rollovers. You know, if you make a bad choice, sometimes the ramifications have to be made on the backside. And we don't want to lose any drivers. We want to keep every single body we have here because we need you. But please take some time, think about your actions, and hopefully we'll have a nice, safe weekend. Thank you.
Got a question, Bill?
Is the kingpin lock sufficient security if you drop it in like a truck stop for like an hour to go?
You know,
make your food run or
honestly,
something?
and I'm just going to tell you, whatever type of device you put on a truck, the thieves know how to take it off. I mean, if they want your load bad enough, that kingpin is going to do nothing but add an extra 30 seconds of time to them to get that kingpin off and drive away with it. I've seen kingpins defeated with a ball peen hammer. So if they know what they're doing, 30 seconds and they still got your load. What we would ask you to do, it's better to leave your tractor attached to the load because then it's a lot harder to steal everything. You know, have somebody come pick you up, whatever you got to do. But really, truck stops are just a haven for cargo thieves. If I want to steal stuff, where do I go? I go to a place where they have the most opportunity. And where's the most opportunity you can find? At a truck stop. Anybody else?
Oh, I got a bill.
Sometimes you be in a situation where you have to get your truck serviced and they'll ask you to drop your trailer and all this and that. And what I tend to do is I would put a kingpin on there, but I also put a cuff lock on there as well. But I also I'll bring the trailer close. That's what I do.
That's
and I always got a good eye on it. But if they really want it, they're going to get it.
Yeah, and that's the bottom line right there, what you just said, the last part.
Mhm.
If somebody really wants to do something wrong, I don't care what you do, they're gonna do it.
Okay.
But you've done everything you could at that point in time
Mhm.
by bringing it close, keeping an eye on it, putting a lock on it, doing everything you can. You've taken all the steps we would ask you to do.
Yeah.
That's great work.
Yeah, I'm old school. I'm from Miami, so.
Well, then you know about cargo
I can
thieves.
tell you right now, I've had before I came to Prime, I had my truck stolen twice. and through the grace of God, I was able to get it back. But I secured that thing like crazy, and they still wind up still stealing it. But also too, the truck, truck, trailer, everything's valuable. You know what I'm saying? You just said food, but really everything's valuable. You got the engine, you got, tires, everything's valuable. So that whole thing right there, if they sit back and take it, it doesn't take long for them to go ahead and strip it down. And then if you don't have a GPS tracker on it, it's gone.
Yep, great points. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Good job.
Ready, Jim? We're running tight on time, but we've still got some more valuable information we do want to share. There was a lot of talk on social media last week about what are customers doing about requiring vaccine masks, and Andrea and her team put some information out there, but we've asked Jim Guthrie, our Director of Reefer Operations, to kind of address it on customers, what's going on. Jim?
Okay, good morning, everybody. It's really good to see some of the new folks here and some of the folks that have been here a long time. You new folks, we're committed to working really hard to help you get through this training successfully and be successful operators. It's a great time to be in trucking, so we really appreciate you choosing Prime and appreciate you being here. So yeah, we had some questions last week regarding some of our customer procedures as it relates to COVID. I know we're all, a little bit exhausted with COVID, but we've just got to really lace them up here and work together to get through this period and put this behind us for good, hopefully very soon. So we don't have any customers at this point that have required vaccines to pick up freight. There was a little bit of talk, a couple of different shippers over the last couple of months, but that's never been instituted as a policy. There are going to be some customers that have different procedures based on your vaccination status or just based on their local health department ordinances. As we pick up everywhere around the country, that varies from state to state and municipality to municipality. So, really, we ask that everybody just cooperate with what the procedures are. Our customers have committed that they will treat everybody with respect, dignified. That's the commitment they've given to us. And if that doesn't happen, then call me, call Steve, call somebody, your fleet manager, let us know, because that's extremely important to us, obviously, with the customers that we service around the country. And we work really hard with them to make sure they are treating you the right way. So, another question that's come up is Prime mandating vaccines. Prime is not mandating vaccines. We strongly encourage you to get vaccinated if you can, but we also love and respect all of you and respect your decisions. So we ask that you wear a mask if you're not vaccinated when you're in this property. And I think a lot of facilities around the country are going to ask the same thing as well. So, that's really where we are. Again, no customers are mandating anything, but they may have some different procedures as we continue down this path over the next few months here, and hopefully, again, we can start to put some of this behind us as soon as possible. So, a couple of things I wanted to mention in addition. Tyler said something that I picked up on about if you get to a shipper and your trailer's got a problem on it, call and road assist. Absolutely. I would just kind of mention a couple of things. Number one is it's really important on the refrigerated side that you confirm temperatures with your bills. Remember, once you sign those bills, that's your stuff in the back of the trailer. So you got to keep it secure. You got to keep it temperature correct. You got to keep it safe. All those things as we pick up and deliver from point to point. So really important to verify that temperature on your bills. Whenever customers send us information over electronically, many times that they don't know at the time, or we don't know at the time, what the temperature is going to be. Those things can change. Sometimes shippers ship a variety of different temperatures at each facility. So it's really imperative that you make it part of your standard process every time, every load, to check those details very closely on the bills. What is the product? What temperature do they want it run at? What setting code? How continuous, start, stop, etc. All those things very important. As Bill outlined, that those shingles, all the freight that we haul, very, very expensive product. Refrigerated food loads are becoming more and more expensive as inflation, goes on around the country. So, really important to check those details. And if you arrive at a shipper and there's a problem on a preloaded trailer, we don't want to sign for any product until that's addressed with the shipper, because again, once you sign those bills, it's our product, your product in the back of the trailer. Before you sign those bills, it isn't your product. So just keep that in mind. Always communicate with your fleet manager if you arrive and have any issues. So, that's really all I've got this morning. Appreciate all you do. Thank you for letting me have a couple minutes this morning, Steve. And if anybody has any questions or anything I can do for you, let me know anytime.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate you coming up. Before I pass the mic to our final two speakers, I do want to go ahead and recognize some heroes in here today. If you served in the armed forces, would you go ahead and stand for a minute so we can recognize you? We're heading into the weekend. Dave talked about it. Schools are getting ready to open. It's Labor Day weekend. Please, following distance, appropriate speed. Don't be distracted in the cab. Steve?
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
Steve Wutke, our Vice President of Sales and Marketing.
Yeah, nice to be here. It's good to see y'all. I'd like to, again, extend my gratitude for you new folks that are joining us. I mean, we need good operators and we need people that want to make this a profession. There's a couple of things around here that I hope you'll find. First of all, we're very transparent. Like to speak the truth as we know it. I'll guarantee you, on Facebook right now, there's probably some comments about Dr. Abraham's presentation. Now, let me tell you something about Dr. Abraham. His only purpose for being here is to keep people safe, because he cares about what's going on in our industry, in our company. And it's okay if you all choose not to embrace his comments or choose to challenge his comments. That's fine. We're not saying you got to get a shot. We're not saying that's mandated or anything like that. What we're saying is you'll likely live a lot better life if you get the shot. It will protect you to some degree. That's all he's saying. He's not Dr. Fauci. He's not CNN News. He's not Fox News. He's not MSNBC. He's been here from day one when this started. And he has helped us create a strategy to try to keep people safe. So, when I see these comments that come across, it does kind of rub on me the wrong way. It could be because I'm on pain meds and they're running out on me right now. Or it could be that I'm closer to right than whoever that person is that's trying to disrupt what we're trying to accomplish here. To you new folks, again, you new drivers, this is a very dangerous job. And you need to think about that. You got to be ready to get behind that wheel every shift, and you got to be focused. You saw what happened when one of our operators had been here 5 years in bad weather. He had to take his eyes off the road. He was either looking at his phone or at something else, but he was not looking at the traffic in front of him. When you get in that bad weather, rain weather, snowy, icy, any kind of bad weather, you just got to back it off. Put your ego aside, slow down, and do the right thing. Protect yourself, or you're going to get in trouble. We don't want you to get in trouble. While we're pretty good at sales and we can move rates a lot, we can't move rates high enough to buy loads that we've trashed or equipment or lives. That's just one of those things. We want to operate the right way. We want to operate safely. You from Miami, I love you, man. You got it going on there. Appreciate you. You've learned the hard way, haven't you? In some ways, right? You came up kind of the tough way, right? Down in a tough area. Yeah. So anyway, we appreciate all of you. Appreciate all of our drivers that are out there right now that maybe are listening and rather than going home for the holiday, maybe staying out and running, because I'm telling you, we have a ton of freight and our customers really appreciate drivers that are continuing to run. So if you don't have family plans, you want to get out and continue to make money, we'd love to have you run. So all of you out there, thank you very much. I'd like to take a moment and introduce the guy that started this deal a few years ago. He's on the injured reserve right now. I can guarantee, even though I've had knee surgery, I can get the baseline on him right now. Right now, I could blow by him.
Bring it on.
So
Bring it on.
this is Robert Lowe. He started this company a few years ago. So thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you all for being here. To our new folks, welcome. You've made a good choice and looking forward to working with you, everyone. Like David said, you're family now, so if you run off, I'm gonna come looking for you. That's all. I'll find you. You know, to our friend from Miami down here, you know, he said some really good stuff there. When you absolutely have to dolly that trailer down, harden that target. Use those air cuff locks. Use that kingpin lock. Leave your tractor under it if you can. Use the security technology that your trucks come equipped with nowadays to lock that thing up. Make your target harder than the next guy because those thieves are lazy. I'm telling you, they're lazy. They're slime and they're lazy. And when they go in that truck stop, you know, and they do their grocery shopping, they're going to look for the easiest target. You know what I'm saying? They're looking for those filet mignons in the easiest target they can find. And man, they'll hook on it and be gone in a flash. If your target is harder, you know what I'm saying? If your target's harder, they're going to keep shopping. They're going to keep shopping. You know, business is pretty good. And, you know, good business and good rates that Steve's in charge of are really important. And we talked about the importance of safety. We talked about a lot of things. I'll give you 3 basic tenets here, particularly for you new people, because you old hands, not chronologically, but the folks who've been around here for a while, is what I'm saying, already know these things. The Prime promises you and owes you safety, and safety includes good health. We owe you that. That's why we spend so much time on it. We owe you that. That's the kind of company we are. That's how we roll. That's what we're all about. Now, the second tenet is really important, and let's get real. Let's get real. You came here to make a living. You came here to earn a living. You came here to make some bank. You know what I'm talking about? And we're all about that. We want you to make some bank. And I'm talking about a little bit, just squeeze by. We have a lot of people here that have built fleets, or maybe they were homeless or virtually homeless when they came here. You know, there's no shame in that. Now they own their home. And I hear from them, those folks have accomplished that every week. And that, man, that does my heart so much good. So when you have those stories, let me know. They paid for trucks. They bought homes. They bought a new car. They put a couple kids through college. And that's all good stuff. And that's what I'm talking about, making bank. Now, the third tenet is probably the most important. The most important. And that has to do with respect. I respect you. I respect you for being here. I respect you for doing what you do. I respect you for getting those loads up and down this nation's highways and deliver them safely and on time. I respect that. I've done that myself. I know what kind of sacrifices you make. I know how it can be emotionally draining, but it's good, honest work, and you deserve respect. I promise you that. Everyone, thank you for what you do. God bless you, and please be safe out there.